We're able to accomplish this on the tape. However, when you're working in the field on a baler, be sure to keep your hands and loose clothing away from any moving parts. We're going to see the knotter operate in slow motion, and we'll see the first action right here. We're going to see the needle come up through this area right here and normally deliver the twine to the notch in the twine disc. The needle comes up, the twine disc turns, the needle goes back down to its home position, and the knotter tying cycle is completed. We'll take a look at that one more time, and you can see the sequence of operation. The knotter is tripped, and as it starts to rotate, the needles are brought up and deliver the twine to this notch in the disc. The disc rotates, and the needle goes back down to its home position as the rest of the operations take place during the cycle. Here we're going to see how the plunger protects the needles as they enter during the tying cycle. The plunger comes back, the needles come up through the slot as the plunger comes rearward, pushing the hay rearward. The hay dogs hold the hay, and the needles are protected as they complete their cycle. Notice that we have the left side of the plungers cut away. We also have a hole cut on the left side of the bale case so we can see that better from the other side. Again, the needles coming up through the plunger slots while the plunger protects them as it's pushing the hay rearward. Come back down to their home position, and the next charge of hay is brought in by the feeder forks. Here we'll see how they come up through a side view. We'll see the needles coming up through. Notice how the plunger is protecting the needles while it's pushing the hay back so it's held by the hay dogs. The needles go up, deliver number 2 twine to the knotter, and come back to their home position. When the needles are timed correctly, as the needles come through the bale case, they should be flush with the inside of the bale case. At that point, the plunger coming rearward, this extension should be behind the tip of the needle by somewhere between 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. In that case, then the needles are timed correctly. The knotters are self-threading. We've got both needles threaded, and we'll see the needle being brought up through both needle slots, delivering the twine on the back side of the needle to the knotters. A knot will be tied on each of those twines. As the needle comes back down to its home position, you'll see the new number 1 twine in position for the next bale. Looking in from the side view, we're now bringing a number 2 twine up to meet number 1. It will be tied to number 1 when the knotter goes through its cycle. And as the needles come back down, you'll notice that the number 3 twine, which is here, now becomes the new number 1 twine for the next bale. We'll see that once more. Number 2 twine on the back side of the needle is delivered to the knotter and tied to the number 1 twine on that bale. After it's tied and the needles come back down, the number 3 twine will become the number 1 twine for the next bale. Now let's see how that twine is delivered to the knotter. The knotter is tripped, and as needles come up, they'll deliver the number 2 twine, or number 1 twine in this case, to the notch in the twine disc. The disc will rotate 1/4 of a turn and pinch that twine between the disc and the holder. As the needle goes back down, it takes the number 3 twine and drops it in the new notch, so we have the new number 1 twine for the next bale. To tie a knot, we have number 1 twine held in the holder and disc. The number 2 twine will be laid right beside it. The disc will rotate, catch both twines, and the knot will be tied. As the needles come up through the slots, notice number 2 twine held right beside number 1. The disc rotates and catches both of them between the disc and the holder. and the needles then deliver the number 3 twine to the new notch, so it becomes number 1 twine for the next bale. The twine fingers have an important job. They must pick up the number 2 twine from the underside of the needle and make sure it gets into the bill hook. As the needles come through, notice that the tip of the twine finger will just clear the inside of the needle. It will come back and pick up that number 2 twine, pull it back into the bill hook so that the bill hook will be sure and catch it as it rotates. The twine fingers then come back to their home position so that the knot can be completed. You'll see that once more. Notice how the tips of the fingers just clear the inside of the arc of the needle. And that's so that we'll be sure to catch the number 2 twine in case it's being pushed forward by the hay. Pulls the number 2 back into the bill hook, and as the bill hook rotates, the twine finger comes back to its home position. Now let's see how the knot is formed on the bill hook. Number 1 twine is held in the holder, comes down around the top of the hook, back across the top of the bale. Number 2 is brought up by the needles. The twine fingers bring it back to the bill hook. The bill hook rotates. The roller on the tongue contacts a cam. It opens the tongue closes, the knife cuts the twine, and the scraper pulls a loop across the tails, forming the knot. Let's see that another time. Number 1 twine held in the hook. Number 2 will be brought back to the bill hook by the twine fingers. The bill hook will rotate, tongue will open, close, the knife will cut it, and the scraper will pull the loops across the tail. Twine finger pulls number 2 back to the bill hook rotates, the tongue opens, closes, the knife cuts the twine, and the scraper pulls a loop over the tails, forming the knot, and the knife arm goes back to its home position. Once more. Number 1 twine across the top of the bill hook. Number 2 will be laid beside it. Twine finger will tuck that number 2 back to make sure the bill hook catches it. The bill hook rotates. The roller contacts the cam, opening the tongue. It closes. The knife cuts the twine, and the scraper pulls a loop across the tails to form the knot.